What was Uganda like at that time, 2005?
Man, it was quiet, man. It was quiet. There was a lot of people aspiring to do things, and it hadn't fully like turned around, like something was really happening, but everyone was trying.
You wanted to be a rapper.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my question is,
Hey, hold up. I didn't want to be a rapper. I came to build the temple of Lugaflow.
okay,
That means the temple of indigenous hip hop culture.
Okay.
It's what I invested my youth energy in, because I was like, yo, I used to tell myself, you can catch a clip on YouTube where I say Jay-Z can do it better than me in my language.
Hi guys, welcome to Kenganda. This is the Repart podcast and my name is Janita Maya. I'll let my co-hosts introduce themselves.
Yeah, what up, world? It is Babaluku here, you know what I mean? Representing Uganda, Kampala via Vancouver, Canada. Always, here for my people. You know what
I
mean?
love the energy.
man,
This is the standard, guys. Guys.
that's how I sounded excited when I first moved to Uganda. I used to be like that.
Let me tell you something, man. We in the presence of hip hop royalty.
Yes.
Hip hop royalty. If this dude ain't a king, I don't know what is right now. So it's a pleasure to be sitting here with you, my brother.
Yeah, blessings,
It's your boy,
fam.
Master Gobs, man. Always happy to be here. Happy to welcome back the homie O'Shea. You know?
Please.
Yeah.
Back in my rightful spot. Shout out to, my brother Gab and Joan for holding me down. I was doing some business out there in Dubai. Came back broke, but let's get into it today. So, Babaluku.
Yes, sir.
Finally.
Mispronounced. But I know this is a very powerful brother. And what's so grateful about him, I met him over at Castle de Roy. Of course, I was drinking, talking shit. Listen, y'all get mad when I curse. Listen, I curse. I pay for this, not you. Take your home. Anyways, so I basically was having a few conversations. I didn't even know who he was in the country because he doesn't even talk about what he did and whatever. We just having a conversation, and but he did tell me that you were Ugandan Canadian. You were born here, but you have Canadian citizenship. And our podcast is called the Repart Podcast. And a very talented man like yourself, what keeps you in Uganda if you don't have to be here?
I like the way you actually framed it, the idea that you don't have to be here.
Right.
A lot of people don't know my whole entire family is not here. I'm the only guy here.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? And at the end of the day, for me, it was growing up on the other side. You grow up, as a diaspora kid. You're exposed to the lifestyle. I always say I could assimilate white folk very well. I've lived with them so long that I could be them. You know what I mean? And then, of course, when you look at my African-American family, I could also be you if I chose to.
I thought you was a nigga from Chicago.
You know?
I'm just going to be real. I'm just going to keep it real. When I first said, man, you look like somebody from the hood I know.
It was this idea that actually how I came home, I kept on thinking about what my peers in the city where I was staying were doing, and that's Vancouver. Because I graduated out of sound engineering and film school.
Right.
And then I was trying to think about production and getting into that world. But I looked at the gifted individuals that I looked up to in Vancouver, and I'm like, but I just can't be doing that. It could be bigger than that. I just didn't know where it could be bigger.
Okay.
Because it felt like on a block, you're always limited. So if you wanted to be an MC and you're aspiring to push your units, you got to be on a box with your CDs, hit up the clubs, There was this whole mark that you meet as an artist depending on, it don't matter how creative you are, but you're limited.
Right.
And I wanted to go to a place where I did not feel limited. I didn't want to do the whole hustle like sweat, slung the boxes. I felt like there's got to be a place where if you're good, something could accept you. So it was one thing I hadn't done is return home.
Okay.
And so I remember calling my mom and telling them that I'll be going back to Uganda. She's like, who you going to? Like, where you going? Like, what makes you think you could go by yourself?
Right.
And I just told her, I think next summer I will be actually making the decision to return home. This was after 13 years of being away.
What year was this?
That was 2005.
2005. How old were you at that time?
Around 22.
22.
Yeah.
Okay. So what did your mom say?
My mom was scared because she knew how the family situation here was. She didn't have trust that anyone could be able to keep up with me or take care of me. I walked in Uganda like a stranger. Like the people who picked me up at the airport, I did not know. I stayed in a neighborhood I never grew up in. I had to reintroduce myself. My family knew I was here via television for the first time.
Okay, let me before I get in this, because Agaba,
Yeah.
you see, he trying to make me look bad on the podcast, but he grew up privileged from a very great family. He's a smart guy, but he grew up rich. He's a rich kid, right? Rich brother. Still to the day, if you ever see him, he give you some money. I'm telling you, he got it. But he grew up in DC. You grew up in Toronto. Both of you grew up. Did you grow up as a privileged African?
I'm in middle class. I would like to say middle class.
But in Africa, considered rich to what people would consider it here in Vancouver.
I don't think my family was ever taught richness as far as the idea.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that my parents had really put on their mission on the front line, and they were notable in the country.
Yes.
Like my dad was being driven by ministers and all of this.
Your dad was a very legendary guy from what they tell me.
Yeah. And so through his life, I think people take on the facade of like, oh, they gotta be rich.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But I'm still that village kid at heart because my grandpa owned the turf on which we grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
I still was raised in a village.
Okay.
You know, anytime school was done, grandpa took us to the village.
Right.
So I grew up more with the village kids than the city kids.
Okay. So how did you, like, coming from Vancouver, which is
So I left Uganda when I was 12 years old.
12.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you lived in Vancouver until you was about 20.
I lived in Toronto, and then I moved
Toronto.
to Vancouver for school. I actually grew up in a small white town called Fort Erie. It's a border town location with Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you grew up from there, coming here at 22, didn't know anybody coming back here. You had some extended family. Now, Uganda in 2005, I got here in 2017. What was Uganda like at that time in 2005?
Man, it was quiet, man. It was quiet. There was a lot of people aspiring to do things, and it hadn't fully like turned around like something was really happening, but everyone was trying. You know what I mean? That was what the energy around town. And I pivoted into the ghetto regions because I kept looking for my friends who I knew back then. But then whenever you phoned them, it was like in some ghetto somewhere. Even if they had it good when you left, you know what I'm saying?
Whoa.
And so it's like, it's the compass of looking for my friend that started to give me the landmarking of the demograph where I could actually be able to move. You know, so in those motions, I'm in the ghetto. This time I'm back in that bougie home. And then, I was everywhere. And it's that compass for me that kind of positioned me to see what I really wanted to do when I got here. So I did my first, the introduction to Uganda. I did 3 ghetto youth concerts. That was my introduction, the first return. Because I was like, I'm an artist, so I could get all of these artists. I knew brother Peter Simatimba from Super FM. He knew my mom. She's like, go over there. He can help you. You like music stuff. Like, that's what mom sent me. And then when I went over there, he gave me a stage truck, gave me the guys, and he said, hey, but you got to go find the locations for yourself. And I had never done any of that. But I ended up doing 3 ghetto youth concerts. And for me, that initialized my understanding because a lot of the children were like, so where do we find you? How can we meet you? And I knew I was getting back on a flight.
Oh, you was going back home?
Yeah. I was going to go back to Canada. This was just me trying to find out what's home like, meet the people, learn, what are they about? And so knowing that I was getting back on a flight after the Ghetto Youth concerts left something in my mind, which I think I was inundated to over years. Because I always tell people it's the little kids that inspired me to come home.
Let me ask you one last question before they get you. You felt like you had a ceiling in Canada on you.
Yeah.
So you wanted to be a rapper.
Yeah.
Okay, so then my question is...
Hey, hold up. I didn't want to be a rapper.
What did you want to be?
Let's clarify.
Okay, clarify.
That's how,
you ended up as a...
pop cultures where you call you rappers. You know what I mean? I wanted to be an MC.
An MC, okay.
Yes, I knew the responsibility, that comes with what I was doing.
Okay.
So I didn't come to Uganda to be a rapper at no point.
Right.
I came to train MCs.
Train.
I came to build the temple of Lugaflow.
Okay.
That means the temple of indigenous hip hop culture.
Okay.
It's what I invested my youth energy in because I was like, I used to tell myself, you can catch a clip on YouTube where I say Jay-Z can do it better than me in my language. And I was to square people to gain confidence, to be like, you still be nice in your language and the world will hear you. Because we had this thing that if you rap in local languages, you're cut off the source.
Oh.
So the assimilating thing was still biting me. I'm like, no, I'm not from here, man. I come from somewhere different.
Okay, so that kills my question about going to the United States and then competing against the MCs of that day.
I mean, I trained kids that went to end of the week mic challenge, like world finals from Uganda, rapping in their languages.
Okay.
The first dude to ever do that, to send an MC here in a local native language to an international mic champ, and he was the third.
Okay.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So after that experience, how long did you stay back in Canada before you felt like?
So I made a promise. I made a promise after my whole entire experience.
Okay.
I felt like being in Canada is like I was being lied to a lot.
Okay.
And I was being told to forget. And so many things were happening. So I was
told to forget what?
Well, that where I'm from, there's something great. And that I'm bigger than my demographic on the block.
So wait a minute. Did you feel like in Ugandan Canadian society, you were being told like, we need to assimilate into this new European way of doing things, and the African way of doing things is terrible?
So I also lead youth in Vancouver, and I have this theory I call concrete misalignment.
Okay.
Now, concrete misalignment is the idea that when you grow up on a grid, you tend to forget how to interact with everything else around you because your body moves a certain way, you walk a certain way, and your eyesight also starts to navigate on how far you can see according to the limitation of the concrete that you're around.
Mm-hmm.
And so I only realized that after coming here. Because then here, the roads are not paved. You know, you got to learn how to move around. It's everything. In the dark, when the electricity is off, you're still navigating in the neighborhood. And I was like, hold up, the whole body has to shift for this to happen. And if you're 20 years of not walking like this, there's something you've missed out of your body system. So that level of conditioning is what inspired me to attach myself to the story of like, I'm learning new things, I'm being open. Matter of fact, so when I came back and I was able to see the land Grandpa gave me, 20 acres by the Nile, right? Okay. And I'm looking like, I'm like, yo, like Canada didn't tell me that this is possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so that infinite for me started to be the thing. So you couldn't limit me anymore. So going back on the other side, I was telling them I'm not that kind of black. You got to reevaluate that. I know what's going on. You know, I'm coming from a place where infinite is, so I'm not limited on the block anymore. And I started to get into the idea of like, I got to get my friends to move, man. Like we all got to get, you know. So when I got into like the movement building, I started shipping everyone here.
You still doing that now?
Yeah. It's a lifestyle, man.
Okay.
My slogan is any day on a plantation is a day too long, so we gotta get home.
So basically,
That's what's up.
living in and I think that's a Gaba's story also, and even mine's, that there was a ceiling that's there in the West, and you feel like things here are limitless.
I mean, infinite. Like you literally could walk out here right now and go buy a piece of land on a lesser account than what you could purchase it for on the other side, right? Yeah. What does that feel like? You know, someone is making racks on the other side, but they cannot even buy a square grid on their, on their block.
No, that's
you understand me? So when you start realizing the opportunity margin that you're disenfranchised from, or because you don't want to get on a flight, or because like they're telling you Africa's too far. I mean, you go to Mexico for vacations. You know, you go to Tulum, go to Dominican.
They be tricking out there. Not me.
No, I know a bunch of brothers. You know, they make pilgrimages.
But I might have to check it out one time. You know, I might have to check it out one time just from my own research, not to be participating, brother. But let's let brother Agaba. You know, because Agaba, you anything you want to ask her?
I mean,
shoot.
So. Babaluku, you've been back in Eugene now. You said 2005, right? So has it been a consistent state of you returned in 2005 and you just decided this is it? So I'm going to stay home.
Yeah, healing is paramount. My journey is highly about healing because, like I said, my family first saw me on television. Yeah. So if you could grab that caption, if they're not picking me up at the airport, you know how I'm coming in.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So if they saw me on television first, you understand that I came here like there was no family no more. Because when my father died at 14, they kicked my mom out and they never supported us. You know what I mean? And so coming back to the country, I was just like, what am I going to do? But I love my grandpa, and rest in peace is the only reason why I chose to return, apart from me trying to be on my rap quest. Because I came to Uganda for hip hop, period. I didn't come here to look for any other opportunity. So I come here to show kids how to rap. We're going to take over the world. We're going to put this voice on the map. You know what I mean? And I'm going to be in my community again and feel at home. Two things. Remember, there's a need to keep your language that you're always losing. So out of my family, my brother also has learned Luganda again. But I think others could hear, but they can't speak.
Wait a minute. Let me stop there. You actually lost, because we did an episode with the young lady that came from, is it Pakwach? Where's she from?
The
Pam,
North.
the North, Nile region.
Yeah. No
So,
reason.
yeah, they actually were losing their language also. So Buganda, which is the biggest kingdom, maybe in East Africa, you actually lost the ability to speak Luganda and had to relearn it again.
And music for me was that.
So
reason
your
I got into
music
hip-hop,
career-
it allowed me to reclaim my language and be able to bring it back. Hence, I actually was so committed to this Lugaflow thing, because for me, it was not rapping. It was like, yo, we get to preserve languages. You know, and a matter of fact, a lot of people thought it was Luganda, but while I was on the other side, it was like Luga means language in Swahili. So for me, it's like we're going to encourage everyone to reclaim their identity, like rapping Lutoro, rapping Luchiga. Like, you want to be a part of this family? You could do it in your native dialect and still be relevant. So that's what we're trying to put on the map.
Yeah. That's amazing. I just want to, before Gab says anything,
Go ahead.
I am actually a big fan of yours. I told you I was listening to you when I was a kid. We used to listen to your music, so that's amazing.
When we were kids.
Go rap the song right now. You need any songs?
I can't rap anything.
Come on, can you?
No,
We can be the beat.
no, it's fine.
I'll be the
He'll
beatboxer.
do the rapping, but I can't rap anything. But I just want to ask, even though you left Uganda when you were 12 years, was coming back a bit hard for you, like integrating back into the system? I know you said you found a few things different, but how was the integration back into the system, even though you were Ugandan?
The decision to integrate back, you got to be willing to earn your stripes. I remember there was an old man I found out back then called Web City Cafe. He asked me, son, what are you here to do? And I said, I'm here to support people. I want to make sure young people get opportunities. He said, pause. You know that you can't help these people? Like, he was so resentful, you know what I'm saying? In his nature. And I bring him up in his podcast. He'll probably remember himself. Because I almost became that man 10 years later.
Whoa, let's talk. I'm there now.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm calling
It's like,
Gaba every night complaining about
you
something.
come in with resources.
Sure does.
You come in with opportunities. You
Yes.
come in with new knowledges. You come in with new access.
Yes.
You know, but then you find, and I don't want to say that my people are lazy. Okay, it's not where I want to allude to.
Yeah.
But you find the conditioning has positioned them not to be able to know how to maximize.
What is the conditioning? Who's responsible for this conditioning, in your opinion?
I think for me, whether it's church, whether it's the political corruption climate, you know what I mean? There's many things that pay attribute to this. Education itself, the kind of education they're getting, where you don't get a chance to know that I'm being educated to improve the status not only for my family, but for my neighborhood.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of that infringes on their ability to know that they're capable of changing the environment around them. So everyone wants to go abroad, right? That's the next thing. I want to go to Canada. How do I get to Canada? You know?
Dubai.
Or, you know, everyone wants to find the white lady. You know what I'm saying? Hook me up, you know, currency, you know? So there's so many things for me that I had to experience to really learn that, listen, guys, it is not that bad here. It's just your attitude, the way you look at yourself has created an environment that's not going to shift. So it doesn't matter if you go to Canada or stay here.
Yeah.
The same attribute that you're carrying with your aura is going to follow you. Because the same thing with the diasporic brothers, you know what I'm saying? Not all of them make it. Like, I know my city. Like, when I go to Vancouver, man, I'm happy I am not on those streets.
Why are you not? Why is that?
So, you know how Vancouver, you been to Vancouver?
Never. Never been to
So
Canada.
It's one of the world's biggest crack infested capital.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful
Vancouver.
city. It's got a lot of wealth. And all the gold mines of the world also sit in the same city.
Okay.
Wow.
So at the end of the day, I grew up in Vancouver while I'm going to school. Always,
It's right by Seattle, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
2 hours away from Seattle.
Okay.
Always walking down the street that goes downtown where wealth and crack are in the same space.
Oh, it's a crack infested city.
So, you know, when you grow up in such an environment, you're constantly presented the outcomes of living in a society and
Right.
choosing what side you want to fall on.
Okay.
So not everyone who's on crack central in Vancouver belongs to be there.
Mm-hmm.
But the system has the way that it pushes you on the borderline.
Mm-hmm.
And when you've done your 3 strikes in within the systemic, support system, then you know where you're going.
That's
Right. Preach,
So
preach,
if
preach.
I was failing in Vancouver, I didn't want to fail and end up in crack central,
Yeah.
I said, go home.
Yeah.
And I keep telling people I wasn't doing well to come home. Matter of fact, I probably had an eviction notice on my apartment. And I'm just like, but before that happens, there's got to be that,
Yeah.
And for me, it's the idea of using my environment to be a point of inspiration. Where to end up? I say, my mom's got 6 boys and 2 girls, right? And so you got to know that on the 6 boys, 2 got to end up in the system. So one of my brothers was a real run the block guy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah, he had his SWAT, you know what I mean? And they regulated stuff.
Okay.
The other one totally was the type that's like, yo, all right, Judge, freaking put me in. And my mom was one of those mothers that's like always at a courthouse. My brother had a case so long that he even knew the judges.
Whoa.
That's how bad that was.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so looking at all of that, I just was luckily blessed to have the gift of love and music.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I look at them, my younger brothers, when I look at them and then I see that I'm the one now on the continent, I see that God had a way to use me as a point of inspiration for them to know that something greater could still happen. Because I think my brother saw me on BET once and he was like, yo, I just saw your trailer on BET, bro. You made it like that.
Wow.
And I wasn't even watching because when we did LA, I did Hollywood for 4 years. And when my brother saw me, it motivated him to think different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that call that he made to me, or even called out my mom to like, I just saw Baba. Yeah, I was like, it changed his life to want to put him in a better place. And of course, a lot of things happened in his life that also pushed him in.
Right.
But to say, if you could do it, I definitely want to listen more and do better.
Let me ask you something though. That's very important. You had at least some level of family ties. This guy here, like I said, he's most talented guy, podcaster in the world, right? So you guys also have you work hard and you're very talented and you already have ties, but you have some connections to the African American community as a Gaba.
Yeah.
So our group, which you've even told me, you have people from Oakland that and you deal with a lot of brothers in the African American community and sisters all the time. You host them here.
Yeah.
But the issue is, like, we're not from here. We have hard times trying to fit into the society. Even some Ugandan Americans, like we get emails from London, we get emails from Waltham, Boston, that group. What do you tell those people who everybody might not be as ambitious as you or can connect with people like you? Some people are not. Africa's do very well here. I noticed being a people's person, it helps you a lot.
Yeah.
Sure.
A lot. Some of our people in the world are like not like that. Me, I talk a whole lot of shit and I'm making jokes and it works. Not all the time, but it works enough to keep me here.
Yeah.
But everybody not like me. What do you say to the people who are not people friendly, but they want to be here and they're trying to find a way a little bit more standoffish?
So my thing is, like I say, any day on a plantation is a day too long. And if you saw the George Floyd saga, you could attest to what was happening. Mm-hmm. When you choose your own entrapment, then that becomes by choice. The reason I'm saying that boldly actually is because I saw for the first time that the Black community was helpless.
Mm-hmm.
Like no one could get it out of the condition and the state of that whole saga. Mm-hmm. Right. And then, of course, you get to learn that there's one narrative. I'm a Garveyite too. Mm-hmm. So Garvey said repatriation is a must. Mm-hmm. So I have this thing in my head, like what did Garvey see to tell people that returning to Africa was important when he said it? Mm-hmm. And so out of honoring most, and when you don't allow yourself to evolve as far as your story is concerned, like some brothers be like, I might never return to Africa. It's all right. But it doesn't matter that, like, it doesn't mean that you cannot evolve your mind to some form or level of acceptance to be free. So what I think is like, as long as you're in America, it's hard to say you're free as a Black person. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how much money you make.
Right.
You know, P. Diddy's always up there like, you know, crying for the black community. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
And that's a symbol of showing how not free you are.
Yes.
This is 2023 and
Yeah.
you're just coming around to the mobilization of your blackness into black wealth.
Right.
Because you realize that over time, everything got squandered and nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
It's a
let's
good
be
point.
clear.
Yeah,
It's
it's a good
still a
point.
plantation. Let's not glamorize America. Let's not do that. Matter of fact, when Trump was president, I never stepped foot in America. Matter of fact, that's the last time I wanted to go to America. Because I was in America on election day. I was in Washington, D.C., and I was meeting a diplomat. And she was crying, saying,
Damn.
how am I going to tell the people I'm leading that this is our president? You know what I mean? And so being in that depressive, silent, DC was so quiet, bro. It was scary. I was like, what's going on? You know, but at the end of the day, for me, it just, and then I moved from there to go into some black creative communities.
Yeah.
And I was at an event and you could feel this intensity among black people. The only thing that secured me was this idea of, oh man, I stay in Africa, man, so I ain't got to deal with this. You know what I'm saying? It came in my mind.
Straight up.
And I looked at their struggle in front of it, still again feeling hopeless. You know what I'm saying? So the idea that we allow ourselves to center around this conversation of finding freedom is important.
Right.
Now, you might find it in Mexico. You might find it in, Costa Rica.
Colombia.
Colombia.
Brazil.
You know what I'm saying?
Dominican Republic.
Find it, whatever it is. But do not make the choice deliberately to stay on a plantation, acting like there was no options for you to evolve yourself
Right.
or learn to shift. And this is why a lot of people move into Ghana. You know what I'm saying? Those who go to Tanzania, go to Tanzania. Those who go to South Africa.
Yeah.
But avail yourself. I always say that. So when you left the plantation, and whether they gave you freedom or not, but you got a passport to move, then who held you on a plantation?
Right.
Who, like, if you can answer that question, who held you on a plantation? That's how I say, here's a pass. But they've conditioned you long enough not to even want to move.
Right.
And that's why when you talk about African-American, the family, you know, I appreciate those who like to make amends with the continent, like to sit in the trauma of what divides us, seeking solutions on how we can support and help each other. So
Right.
those are the kind I usually host.
Yes.
It's not because they're coming to be African again.
Right. Right. That's a
Okay?
great point.
It's because the narrative of healing is important to them.
Yep.
The idea of them also now knowing that they're connected to their relatives
Right.
is also healing.
Yes.
And it gives us one of my mentors say that if Africans were smart, and it's African American,
Yeah.
they would use us, right, as their learning templates because we've lived thicker in the trauma
With the whites.
with the whites
Yes.
than they have. So we'll
Right.
be good allies.
Yes.
Them learning from us
Right.
on how to literally break this whole model of, like, you know, conditioning that is setting us back.
Yeah.
All of the ideologies that we carry that come from colonialism.
Yes.
You
Let
know?
me ask Agaba something, because Agaba has been going viral. Again, I just go to Dubai. He didn't take over the whole podcast. And now I ain't got a job no more. Okay, I'm coming back. This Negro, he going viral on TikTok.
Twitter.
Twitter. I'm about to fire you, man. You taking, making me look bad. My mama calling me, yeah, he better than you on the podcast. I'm like, okay, you know, your mortgage is due next month. You keep giving Negroes compliments. But anyways, but you said something very important. I believe it was an episode, I wasn't here, but it was an episode that had a lot to do with, if I'm not mistaken, it was African presidents are saying sorry for slavery. This is the Museveni thing you broke down.
Yes.
They're gonna arrest you because you be saying some crazy stuff about Africa now. But no, it'd be true though. It'd be true. But you say you made a great valiant point, like toward the end of the podcast. Listen, these people, we're asking African Americans in the diaspora to come back here and help us. But the systems work there. And you were very honest. Like, I couldn't say that so much, but you said it. Systems don't work here. So if that's the case, you've been here though.
Yeah.
So people might look at that and say, well, okay, how does that make sense? You're back and you're making it, but these other people, if they come back, we can't ask them to do so. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
How can you say that? Like, and what's the explanation behind that?
So, I mean, I came back in a time where I was ready to take on any challenge.
Okay.
I was ready to take on any challenge. I came back to Uganda in 2011. I had been through the ringer. Corporate America used me and spit me out. I was very much disenchanted with the whole idea of working and striving hard to be promoted within that system over there. My life plan at that particular time was to come here, spend 5 years trying to figure out how to make a life here.
Okay.
I didn't have any answers when I came.
Okay.
I didn't have any answers. So it's not like I was looking at it from a calculated risk perspective. I was single, unmarried, had no kids. And I knew that if I flopped, I have my American citizenship. I can always go back.
Okay, great.
And try again to
Okay.
reestablish myself. I have a brother over there. I have family over there. I have friends over there. I had people who would welcome me back and comfort me and recover from the miserable failure of trying to establish a life here in Uganda.
This is why you get paid the big bucks.
But I also had that thing within me. So, Babaluku talked about having multiple siblings, being one of 8, right? So I'm the youngest of 3. I'm the youngest of 3 brothers. I have 2 older brothers. I have an older brother, God rest his soul, he passed last year, who was in the legal system. He was incarcerated for more than half of his adult life. And through his experiences and the lessons that he taught me, and the value of just knowing that there's a greater opportunity here. I don't know what it is. When I landed on the ground, I landed on April 3rd, 2011. I remember the day. It was a Sunday, April 3rd, 2011. I landed here in Uganda and I had no idea what I was going to do.
Okay.
I knew I had 2 degrees. I had a whole bunch of ambition and a whole lot of energy to bring to bear to figure it out. And so I got my fingers burnt. I got played. I got hustled. I got swindled. I got backstabbed. I got slandered. People were throwing dirt on my name.
Okay.
Because, the same guy that you meet now is the same guy that I was then, only that I didn't know as much.
Okay.
I didn't have the benefit of experience and wisdom. So I was coming through with a whole bunch of self-confidence and what people perceived as arrogance and energy. And they were like, I'm going to take advantage of this guy.
Right.
Right. And I told you guys about all that before.
Yeah.
It wasn't about relationships being mutually beneficial. It was about, this guy's presenting himself as somebody who thinks he knows what he's got going on, but he gonna learn today.
Right.
So
They got you, huh?
They got me. I'll admit.
They got me. They got me too.
They got me.
They still get me now. But that's another.
But the spirit that I have within me was a determination that I wasn't going to give up.
Right.
Because my life was about, of course, you teasing me about growing up, rich family and all that shit. I'll never deny that because I received the blessing of being rich.
Right. Amen.
I cannot speak into the universe and deny richness.
Right.
Right. So, you know what I'm saying? But if you know, you know. If you know me and you know my family, you know. If you know, you know.
Right.
It wasn't all sweet, but at the same time, I grew up in a life where I never really suffered or struggled because I had the benefit of 2 older brothers. I had the benefit of 2 parents who remained together. My education was facilitated my entire life. So when I came back to Uganda, I was 2011. So I was 31 going on 32 years old. And so for me, it was, you're no longer Tumusime's son. And you know how big that is here.
Yeah.
It wasn't a situation where I was willing to call up my godfather, the prime minister, and ask him to connect me. It's no longer a situation where I would call my mother's friend, the governor of the Bank of Uganda, and ask him to connect me. Those options weren't on the menu. That menu, I crumpled it up and I threw it away. That was no longer a factor in my life. I stubbornly and desperately needed to figure shit out on my own.
Okay.
And so because of that, I refused to give up and I refused to lose and I refused to let anybody see me sweat. I refused to acknowledge the idea that failure was even an option. And so I figured it out. I bumped my head a gang of times. And so the systems that were not working for me, I figured out how to make my own systems.
Okay.
I figured out how to maneuver within this world where there's a whole lot of ambiguity and a whole lot of gray area to play in.
Yeah.
So you pick and choose your spots. You pick and choose your battles. Which ones you want to fight? Which ones you want to leave alone and live to play another day? So for me, that's been my experience and what I continue to tell people when they ask, Gabs, what's your experience been like? I'm afraid. I'm worried. You make it look easy. Oh, bro. Don't let the smooth taste fool you. You know what I mean? Just because I'm out here, I'm clean and I'm shiny, doesn't mean I don't go to bed at night
to say that.
with a whole bunch of headaches. I mean, come on, bro.
Yeah, we gotta admit. I mean, give him a round of applause, editors. You know what I mean? We gotta just go take you real.
I'm always gonna remind you, I'm the freshest in the room. 365 days of the year. I own it, bro. I don't
Say that.
I mean, ain't no shame in my
Say
game.
that.
Man. You already know what time it is. Man. Come on, bro. You know? So anyway, point I'm making is that it looks easier than it is. And because it looks easier than it is, people have the mistaken impression that it is easy, that it's automatic. Because I come here and I have education on my side. I have a worldly experience on my side because I've seen multiple cultures, I've seen multiple countries. Those things are artificial advantages. And in the hands of the wrong person, none of that shit matters.
Right.
Yeah.
In the mind of the wrong person with the wrong intention and the wrong attitude, none of that matters. It doesn't matter, yo. None of that matters. So I'll say this. I think if you humble yourself and you come here, first of all, in a learning mode. Whatever you already know doesn't matter because the context of knowing that, it's like saying I'm a French chef, but I'm going to cook in a Chinese restaurant.
Yeah.
The kitchen is set up differently.
Yeah.
The burners and the woks and the ovens. Like, you're a classically trained French chef. What the hell are you going to do in a restaurant in Chinatown?
Right.
You won't know how to maneuver.
Right.
And that's how I feel like highly educated people with a whole bunch of professional experience who come here and arrogantly think that they're going to figure it out. That's how they end up. Like, they're in the kitchen and they don't know where to find the tools.
Right.
You don't know where to find the equipment.
Yeah.
So I had to retrain myself. How to think, how to believe, how to learn, how to lead, how to relate to people. It's a 12-year journey that I'm still on. To this day. I never wake up believing that I have all the right answers, that I've even got it figured out. I just know that I grow in confidence every day to day. I will never lose.
Amen.
A loss is not an L is not a loss. It's a lesson to me.
Yeah.
I fail forward. I get up. I get stronger, and I get smarter. So, you know, that's what life has been like for me.
Yeah.
You know, I'm in a system right now. I'm employed by a company that can't pay me what I'm worth, but the existence that I have and the relationships that I've built and the determination that I have to use that as a stepping stone, as a springboard, as a trampoline to get 10 levels higher is valid and it's real. So I'm not a short-term thinker either. A lot of people come here and they want to instantly succeed. They want to instantly make it happen in a way that is unrealistic.
Yes.
I'm playing the long game.
Long game.
And I'm here to, you know, I'm 44 now. I'm here to...
You're 44? I thought you were 29, 25, man.
Come on, bro. Say it again, man. I make this shit look good, yo.
Yeah, man. No homo. No homo. Yeah, I thought you're 25, bro.
You know what I mean? Come on, family. You know what it is? No, it's good genes. Shout out to my mom and dad for giving me good genes. But no, I'm serious. I have like a 10-year plan that I'm on. I have a 15-year plan that I'm on.
Right.
It was a 5-year plan at the beginning. But now that I'm married, now that I'm establishing a family, now that I have responsibility, I'm no longer the youngest son and just looking out for myself, and I have the benefit of, you know what I mean? I just mentioned my late brother, he left 3 sons behind. We have to
take care of them.
Take care of them, right? My parents are at an age and stage in their life where the script is flipping.
Right.
And now we need to look after them.
Right.
Right? We have responsibilities toward creating generational wealth. We're not just out here maintaining the status quo. I didn't grow up in this comfortable lifestyle and have the sense of an example of what high level achievement is. And I look at my father and his work ethic, waking up every morning at 5 a.m. for the last 40 plus years. That I've seen and observed him to this day. He does the same. I don't see all of that and not develop an ambition of my own to take it 5 levels higher.
Right.
But taking it 5 levels higher for me is like, now I need to be on my Steve Jobs. I need to be on my, I need to be a world changer. I need to be a game changer. I need to shift the paradigm for every person who comes after me. The Tumusime name needs to be ringing bells in business communities across this continent, across this planet. You know what I mean? So that's what drives me and motivates me. So I look beyond what doesn't work, and I have to, like Bruce Lee said, be like water. So I have to flow and make it work, and I have to fit in between the cracks. But I'm very proud of myself for having been able to manage that. Mm-hmm. Again, it's still a work in progress. It's still a learning experience.
Oh yeah, it's a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah.
But
I'm gonna call you tonight. And
I'm excited.
again.
I'm excited about what the future holds.
Yeah.
But I wanted to mention one thing about this brother over here, man. So 2005 for me was an era where my family, we had a small restaurant called Baldwin's Cafe in Crested Towers. And I met, once upon a time, that was when MTV Base Africa was launching, right? So there was a whole launch event, and they brought a press conference together in my restaurant, and it was Blue 3. Yeah. Maurice Kiria was there, and Crazy Native was in the building. Saba, Alex Kiria, right? And there was a collective, it was the Bataka.
Yeah.
The Bataka Underground.
Saba and me.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's when I first became familiar with you at that time. So I'm talking about from 2005 till now. This brother right here, you teasing me for being out here trying to be all, you know what I'm saying? What I'm talking about, this brother has looked the same for the last 25 years.
That's true, by the way.
I'm talking about the head wrap. I'm talking about the scarf. I'm talking about
The
consistency,
beard.
yo.
Yeah.
I'm talking about the model of consistency. Like, I know myself, and I ain't changing for none of y'all niggas.
That was important.
Yes, and that's kind of what I want to. That was actually a question I wanted to ask you. Like, how do you ground yourself in such a firm knowledge of self? There, particularly in this world of, okay, I wouldn't qualify you as an entertainer. You're a teacher.
Yeah.
Right?
KRS.
So how do you ground yourself in such a firm knowledge of self to the point whereby you can just let the natural inclination to mold yourself into what other people appreciate and enjoy doesn't become important to you?
I mean, it was very key growing up in the West, and I think hip hop culture, I credit for this. A lot of people take the hip hop culture from the, the glass, all that, shiny. You know what I'm saying? But I think I had a chance to be in a hip hop space where authenticity was the conversation, originality was the conversation. So those things foundationally just put me in a place of thinking about what's my origin, who am I? Like, they push me to caution all the time. Am I a true representation of self, or am I playing mimicry? Now, coming back home, I think there's also higher power that my dad, being a preacher and a minister and traveling all over the world, raised me in a community space of seeing so many things that my mind somehow, some way knew what genuine is. And so moving away from genuine me to emulate was hard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And when I look at my grandpa too, these were strong men who lived in their masculinity, but authentically, right? Being able to spread over and take territorial grounds to their own missions. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think, and I didn't even realize in hip hop I was doing that. It was later as things are happening, right? I'm also wondering, because so many times I wanted to quit and not come back to Uganda. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I think being so much about reclaiming the language led me into the indigenous narratives that pushed me into culture. And when I got into culture, I was like, yo, hold up. We're living with a generation that says that, when they say ancestors, that means demonic. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, really?
Yeah. Out here, the minute you say ancestor, it means demonic. Like, quickly.
Wait. In Ugandan, because when we said, and shout out to the doc in the background, when we said, it's like, we thinking about Malcolm X, we thinking about Harriet Tubman.
You're thinking power, right?
Yeah.
Out here, they push you back.
We'll fight you over talking about the right people. Is that true?
Yeah.
So when I pivoted into roots culture and the spirituality that was in that undertone, I discovered that everything good that was happening to me was happening because I moved towards who I am on the continent. The reason I ended up in LA and did Hollywood for 4 years, it never happened all the years I lived in Vancouver. It only happened when I came back to the land. Okay, so I started to see blessings unfold because I'm making a pilgrimage back to reconnect. And it's the affirmation of those blessings that pushed me to say, what's really going on? And I saw them triple. I was on the Nile 2005 by myself in a boat, rapping on the Nile. Flip it, 2023. I sit on the same Nile with 40 people in a boat. And we all going to connect to the source, not as tourists, in conversation of ancestral possibilities of greatness that we could tie ourselves to when we talk about the Nile being a home of civilization.
Yeah.
Wow.
So those things for me cued me in a space of seeing a few things differently that I know my peer in the industry would never even have took time out for. But I credit that to diasporic upbringing. Because it pushes you to really want to explore who you are constantly.
So let me make sure. I want to make.
Yeah,
I'm going to cut you off. But in that time period we're talking about before the podcast, Father MC, well, not really him, but KRS-One, people like that, Public Enemy, Chuck D. Those are the people that we're talking about. You know, because even like when there was a popular song, a lot of rappers, self-destruction back then, right? And we were talking about our people, where we come from. So you're seeing that culture, which is not really there right now, because now it's not about that. But back in the 90s, it was knowledge itself. It was in hip hop, very big. Public Enemy was one of the people, right? You're seeing that African Americans, through their knowledge of the ancestors, because remember, Malcolm X, if I'm not mistaken, he got killed in 1963. But his popularity wasn't really coming back until not the 70s, not the 80s, really like 80s and 90s, Malcolm X repopularized in black culture. If I'm not mistaken, we have a PhD here. Is it true? Okay. So Malcolm X really reinvented himself through the conscious levels of hip hop and things like that. So is that what really, that's what got you to say, wait a minute, my ancestors are also very good people?
Exactly. So I till today, my mom is a preacher still, right? And I keep telling her that I'm on a quest first and foremost to hear people talk about God, but in their authentic voices. You know, without the colonized reception. But how does God talk to you as a black man on the continent if all you've known is how he talks to you, how white people say they introduce God to you, right? So there's so many questions in between that if you don't ask, then you'll never really be at your source or at the core. So part of my journey here, there's many young people here that never had to experience life the way they have due to the disconnection. So if I let them to reconnect and find the value of the land, I felt like I would be contributing to the identity resurrection and also the reconnection to their power and their source. In turn, they come back to communities to serve, knowing exactly who they are.
Can I ask you one last question? Because you talk about you also wanted to leave Uganda. And I go through a lot of trials and tribulations, not as many as I did in the past, but I do go through some. And, you know, when you grow up in a place like Canada, and you see things, I mean, obviously Uganda is very, as Dr. Joseph Mbele, the PhD, I interviewed him from Tanzania the other day. He said, African Americans or people in the diaspora are very task oriented. Africans who are continental Africans are more people oriented. And which is what I agree to myself. So now, trying to do things in a genre like hip hop, which I was at the Hip Hop Awards, I saw the setup. And you were the guy that was doing it before it became popular, and trying to be a trailblazer, and, you know, people not respecting what you do, people not respecting your talent. Because I get, put the camera on me, I get a lot of that here, a lot of middlemen lying here. Do you see me? Yes, y'all. Okay, I'm sorry. I get a lot of that. I'm tired of y'all. So, you know, people just not telling the truth. When you know that in America or in Canada in the West, because I just think we saw Alien Skin. I've never heard the kid, but that kid just sold out in London at the Purple. Was it the Purple Party? Something like that. Yo, it was a lot of people there, right? Do you ever felt like, man, this? I mean, you know, like people don't get it, and I'm just going to be honest. It seems like the people who have control over a lot of these big companies purposely want you to beg them. The sponsorships, especially, like hip hop wasn't thriving then, so you need sponsors to do things. People specifically trying to hold you back.
So I share something
That happens now too, by the way. But go ahead.
We just celebrated 20 years of the hip hop summit in Uganda.
Okay.
I joined the hip hop summit when it had started 2 years in. Mm-hmm. But from the third summit all the way to the 20th, I've been the sole financer for that conversation.
What? You pay your own money.
Well, when I came in, of course, we had Alliance Française. I think Ali, before he even became 256, did some, let me affiliate, you know what I mean? But over time, everyone left it. Due to the fact that it was a demographic that they didn't think would be lucrative enough for them to invest in. Mm-hmm. But of course, when you're hard-headed and you've grown up on the other side and you see an opportunity, you're not going to let that deter, you know what I mean, what you're trying to get done. Remember, I came in the country for the culture, so I made a commitment that as long as I'm in Uganda, I have to put up bread for these young people to actually convene. Mm-hmm. And when I went to offices and it made it seem like we were begging them, I also don't know how to beg. That's why I'm self-employed. Mm-hmm. I've never been a beggar, and I don't respect people that beg.
They want you to beg here too.
Ain't nobody gonna beg you. Like, we're not begging you. You don't do it if you don't want to.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
But I wanted to breed a generation that understands the value of integrity, being honorable, honoring yourself, and at the same time loving your community because it's the foundation of your resources.
Right.
You know what? I wanted young people to get that. So what did I do? There's things I've done that Ugandans would never know. Like, listen, I've been in sports for 15 years. No one could tell you I'm in sports. But I have kids playing in Spain, in Denmark. Nobody knows. I don't care if you know or not. Right. I saw the ways in my community how you are treating young people. And I chose to show them a narrative that was the alternative to you considering them to be failure. Mm-hmm. And so families have won. But a lot of people don't even understand, because people be like, yo, but you didn't put out 20 albums. How do people know you? I diversified my community approach, and I put my mind and heart to where I felt like the future will be. So now if you're in a different corporate company, I got like 20 guys in there who came from a regime I was leading. They're in your company working somewhere. And where did they learn the principle to teach them to work? Because I facilitated a space that allowed them to dream. Mm-hmm. And to see better and want to be in different positions. Like, I remember going to Izumi with some investors, The guard was like, Godfather, we love you. The investors are like, who are you? And then we sat down. They're supposed to be the money bag dudes, you know what I'm saying? And then one by one, the people behind the waiting counter, came in to pay, respect, love, and homage. And this is the first time I've lived in Uganda straight for 2.5 years. I usually do 5 months.
Right.
But man, it's been lovely to really understand that all the energy I put in my youth was actually pushing others forward. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Because now I get the love. Like, we could sit in a restaurant and some dude would be like, we've covered that table. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know him, but they sent someone to let me know.
But let me ask you a question, though, before we close out. Do you feel like you have somehow self-sacrificed your own personal life for others since you've done that? Do you ever think, let me ask you this, do you ever think that, man, if I wouldn't have been sacrificing these people, helping these people, I would have been.
You know what?
You've seen these guys now, like Burna Boy, and Burna Boy is getting paid like crazy, man. Yeah. He's getting paid almost more than Drake, probably more than Drake at a concert now. Who this guy's here? This guy, he's here now.
Diamond
Platinums.
Yeah.
So you look at these guys, and don't you feel, even some of the guys in America, right? Like, that are blowing up, you think you have more talent, no, you have more talent, but you've been so much community-based. Do you ever feel like that could have been you?
So I share something with you. Pop culture is a beautiful place for those who see the karmas and the importance of it, but at the same time, it has a destructive nature to misguide an entire generation. Mm-hmm. I look at myself like, we're talking about hip-hop in Uganda specifically. Yep. So if I never did my community path, there's so many young people a lot of people would never see. You know what I'm saying? But today, of course, a generation has emerged that utilizes the narrative, the platform, the semantics. Whether they pay homage or not, it's not the thing. Mm-hmm. The idea is that we set a standard for that door to be open. Mm-hmm. And so I look at generational impact versus than the celebrity dome. You know what I'm saying? Or if I'm popular, I'm famous, and they see me on TV. I literally from jump, TV did not matter to me. Matter of fact, people could not interview me on TV in Uganda because the problem was they were not in the right spirit and space to have the right conversation. Every television you went to, what's the song coming out? You know, they were very shallow in conversation. That I got to a point where I stopped doing television. And then I told the TVs that wanted to talk to me, I said, you know where the community is, come find us. Because I knew maybe they would also be inspired and have some other stuff to talk about after that invitation, right? So in reality, it's like, Burna Boy is making it big. You got Diamond for, you know what I mean, Tanzania. Africa's got more gems. These guys are trailblazers into the money trail for young creatives. You understand me? They're showing you could get it to this level. And really, like, the real issue here is, are the new young creatives understanding the authenticity that these brothers have used? Because when you look at them, they're humble, they're disciplined, they have a sense of integrity that you see in, like, let's say Diamond was here and it was like, yo, Chameleon, I honor, you know what I'm saying? Just to see an artist big up someone, which is hard for Ugandan artists. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's a whole podcast in itself.
Yeah.
But he did that, right?
Yeah, he did that, simply.
He big up Chameleon?
Yeah.
For sure.
So I'm only echoing that to say that there's missing links in some of our young creatives that they're not paying attention to tap into that level of success. Now, my success might be community. The other one might be like, you know, he did a song that took him, you know, above and beyond. But the idea is, as long as we're connected to the value of our people, and that chain of popularity could create the development for our countries or our neighborhoods or the villages we're from. Like, I'm big on village right now. I'm trying to chop up a village somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But the idea is that I have the time. I'm still alive. I'm only 42, meaning that at the end of the day, I got a couple more years to really show my people that we could live better.
Right.
You know, you grew up in a neighborhood, you know, around different places when you're abroad, right?
Yep.
Yeah, do we have neighborhoods in Uganda? No, we don't. People just coexist in their, you know, perimeter walls and whatnot, but there's no neighborhood.
Yeah.
So that little kid still got to pay money to go to a soccer pitch for like $5K to play.
Yeah.
Man, you know, you go play basketball for free and 20 courts available.
I just want to say something. There are neighborhoods in the villages, but not in the city. That's it. Because in the village, listen, we're having tournaments against one neighborhood and the other.
Really?
The whole thing, yeah.
Why you didn't tell me? I would have pulled up.
Yeah, so the idea is to see that the next generation will not have to deal with the idea of lack of access. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm committed to in my next 10, 20 is to bring in investors, bring in organizations that are community orientated to show our people that we could create new access. And, you know, when people ask me, so Bubba, what do you do? What is your occupation? I say, you know, over years I've thought about it. First, I developed this platform for me, which got me paid in America, is indigenous hip hop practitioner. You know what I mean? I created that and it got me in universities and places and I started sharing a lot of work. When I left that to get into my futures and people are like, so Bubba, what are you doing currently? Now I call myself a future thought pattern investor.
Okay.
I want to know that what I'm thinking today will be valuable to the next young man tomorrow to build a better future.
Yes.
So that's what we're going to do. We're going to create spaces of dialogue, conversations to pivot you into the right way of thinking so you could go out there, be active, and lead your people to whatever freedom you see. But other than that, we're all Africans looking for keys, man. Everybody's looking for a key. Like, where my access at? Like, you know, I'm locked out. And so we need to find our way in and give our people that win and stand on that foundation to literally now call the shots versus them people always bossing our population. I mean, bossing our presidents. You know what I'm saying? Like, everyone, when you talk about the continent, you're bossed around. You know what I'm saying? On all levels.
Yeah.
You know, so I think for me, I want to be a part of the generation that contributed. Even when I look at the community level where I'm working, I want my communities to be liberated into their access so that it's not much more that they're relying on governmental support systems, but they have become self-reliant and sustainable and contribute to the government then.
Right,
what they're generating.
Right. And taxes, all that stuff.
Yeah.
Man, it's a great interview.
It's perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, by the way.
No, thank you guys for having us, man. It's a pleasure to talk with those who want to.
It's your first podcast?
It's we here?
Like
with you?
Like In general.
A podcast. Type
Oh no,
of
no,
thing.
no. I get on bunch here and there.
Are they as good as us?
I think today we've had a more conversation that's suitable for who I am, versus than where I always have to pivot the other way. Like, I got diaspora family, right?
Yeah.
And so usually people don't know the diasporic angle of things.
Right.
So we don't get into those conversations.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So I feel like now today our diasporic family, where y'all at? Man, let's tune in.
But tell the people where they can find you if they want to reach out to you.
I mean, shoot, like social media stuff, digital, era. You can hit me up on IG, man. That's the only thing left after they locked Facebook down and I didn't do the VPN joint.
Yeah.
Oh, you was on Facebook heavy?
Yeah, I used to be. That was my joint. But, after
In
the
case they
lock.
want to reach out, you can also give out your email if you don't mind.
The email, Babaluku360@gmail.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll
what
put
I'm
that
saying?
on the screen, editors.
Yeah, Babaluku360@gmail.com. And we encourage you to come home.
okay.
We encourage you to invest black. You know what I'm saying? Our people need us, and so we need to show up and turn up. You know what I mean? In the same way we do everywhere. You know what I mean? We need to start supporting our own. It's hard, but we got to do it.
Oh, it's very hard.
Yeah.
That's a whole other podcast
Exactly.
about how hard it is.
Yeah, Gabs, where can
I'm gonna just do it by myself, but y'all not here. 5 hours, just me ranting. But thank you, brother.
Yeah.
And again, one thing about him is he's very humble. Like, he never, like when I first was talking to him over at, he never told me who he used to be like. It was only after I think I asked you. It's like, I met this guy before. He's like, oh yeah, that guy's really big. I'm like, really? And so I'm like, yeah, that guy's really big. But he never told me. He was just,
Yeah.
just shooting the stuff, man. So
Amazing. Gabs,
he not cocky like you. You know what I mean?
Gabs, where can people find you?
I mean, in O'Shea's nightmares, first of all. Living rent free in O'Shea's nightmares.
Yeah.
But no, at Master Gabs, of course, Instagram, Twitter. Follow the Allergic to Average podcast as well. And shit, you might see me collaborating with the brother Babaluku over here, man. I'm inspired by what he's talking about. And I want to be a more active contributor to the conversation and the community building that he's doing. So
Give thanks.
you might see me checking in and plugging in with this good brother over here sometime soon.
Oh,
Let me just say this. I always get like, not all the time, but he's invited me to things that's going on with even the Richmond community. He's invited me to things like that. He never invites me like, yo, buy my CD or nothing. It's like, yo, man, we're going to have this event. Just come through. You know what I mean? And I think I think is that he's very sincere. And that's the thing, like, So at O'Shea Duke, please do not message me. I don't have time for you. But you can message, what's your email and Instagram?
Master Gabs.
Just hit me on Master Gabs.
Yeah,
man.
he going viral. So y'all, man, message him, man. He listen.
But
He'll get you straight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you have anything you'd like to share with the Kenganda team, you can email us at teamkenganda@gmail.com and also reach out to all our social media platforms at Kenganda Nation.
Wait a minute. Wait, something about the WhatsApp. Put the WhatsApp on the community tab.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll do it. Let
How
me do
many
it.
people in there?
I think like 50 now. Are there 50? Gabs, you're in the group.
He was in a group.
I was in a group, but I exited.
It's
You
too,
exist? Why?
I exited the group.
yeah. It was no. We were.
the
We could
people
be.
messing with you, the people messaging you. We do have some people keep calling. It's a whole other story.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
why.
there's
Yeah, I was in there under unknown number, but y'all damn sure ain't gonna get my number.
Yeah.
No.
But yeah, we do have a WhatsApp group for our viewers. It's going to be in the description box. You can just tap that and then join the community.
Yeah.
It's lovely over there. You know that they came together and made a group where they're building
Building
a school.
yeah. Okay.
That's amazing, guys. And it's from this
Cool.
platform. So yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see you guys.
Don't call me when you get here though.
We'll see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.